Hey, Sarah, you're muted so no one can hear you. So I don't know what you just said.
I said, I'm so glad everybody joined us, and I'm gonna go now. You can do the show. Bye.
Fuck
I'm
this.
leaving.
Bye, guys.
I don't know. I need new equipment. Everybody, go buy some books so that I can get some money for
so
new
we
equipment.
can buy Sarah some
Please
new
and thank
equipment.
you very much. It's actually fine. It's actually fine, except that what happens is I was telling everybody off camera that, or off show, whatever the fuck, I don't know. Anyway, my mic stand, it keeps twisting, and in addition to the weird jiggly sound, I have it tends to flick off the mic. So good times. Katie's here. Hi, Katie.
Hey.
Dirk Don, how does sex work? We didn't even get to that part yet, man. So you got to calm down. Just we'll get.
That'll be the first question. How does sex work?
How does sex work? I wonder if there is even an answer to that one. I don't know.
I guess it depends on who's having it.
Okay. Well, what I said was, was welcome and thank you for joining us. Yada yada. The same shit I say at the beginning of every episode. So don't worry about missing anything, and except for the thank you part, because thank you for coming. Anywho's, I'm sure everybody who's joining us already knows that we're talking about sex today, and it's gonna be a sex therapist. Kaston is a sex therapist, so if you have like a doctory question, like why does it burn when I pee, that's not the kind of questions we're talking about today. But if you have other kinds of questions, then stay tuned. So let's just wait before we do that. Do we have any news? Any UHS news to review?
Hot brass is at the printers. I'm hoping that we get them next week, and then I can ship them out to backers. And then the Surgeon 4 should be getting sent to the printer today or tomorrow. And then we hopefully get that a couple weeks and send it out. And then, of course, the first or second week of September, we should be running a Kickstarter for The Art of Ian Richardson. It's going to be all kinds of amazing pieces that Ian has done over his career so far with Marvel UK and Image and basically everybody. So it should be really awesome.
I'm excited. I just forgot all about my fingernail polish testing until I saw it pop up on the screen here, and then I was like, what the fuck? This is my shit. I have the attention span of a small rodent, and y'all are just gonna have to deal with it, I guess, if you want to be fans of the show regularly.
It'll be fine.
Kaston is here on Twitch again. Yay.
Hey.
Always here. Matt Frank is here from Facebook, which I was hoping. We were hoping for that one, weren't we? I think.
Yes.
So,
of course.
All right. Well, let's get to it because that's what y'all are here for anyway. So tonight's guest is a sex therapist who specializes in helping folks with sexual dysfunctions, such as the inability to climax with a partner and sexual shame from an orthodox upbringing. She's also the office fairy for the amazing comic artist Matt Frank, who is with us in the comments. And she does some office fairy work for our own Miss Lori. She fosters kittens, and she adamantly refuses to have any hair color that isn't bright and prides herself on her ability to make the best bad puns. Please welcome Kaston Kolbachinski.
Yay!
I got it. I got it.
Correctly.
Matt says I'm special because Sarah talked about me. Is that what makes people special? Because
yes.
I am flattered, and also I didn't know I had that power.
It's a lot of power. It is.
Use it wisely.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have a question to open up all of this stuff before anybody jumps into asking. But first, Heather is here. So say hi to Heather.
Hi, Heather.
And Katie said Kaston has awesome hair.
Thank you. I just redid my bangs earlier today because the rainbow fades pretty damn quick.
Oh, I believe it. It's definitely a commitment from what I understand. It was like 25 years ago that I did the non-natural.
Well, it adds to it because my hair is 3.5 foot long. It just keeps going.
It's man, yeah, I can't imagine how long it takes to dye. And oh yeah,
time. Woof. So my question here is to open this up here. What does a sex therapist do?
Well, first I have to make one technical correction, or else I will get in trouble. I'm not technically a licensed therapist yet. Something I'm working on. But I've been doing this since I was in 8th grade, when our sex education was absolutely horrible. And so I'd go to the library 2 days a week and do research. And I became the sex guru for all of my friends. And then it kind of, grew from there. So it's always been something I'm interested in. And although I don't have the piece of paper, I do have all the technical skills that go with it, being self-taught. So safer to say, sex therapy guru, sexual health guru,
I will make that correction and future. And I mean, if you're working on it, that still makes you like official.
Yeah, there we go.
In my book, anyway, you're
will officially be one someday.
Yeah. So,
but back to your question, what I do is I work with clients in anything to do with their sexuality. It could be from transitioning from male to female, female to male. It could be with relationships having to do with your own personal life. And like you mentioned in the intro, the inability to orgasm with a partner, which is very common among men. And with females, I tend to work on body positivity and how it's okay to express your sexuality, and that, yes, you should enjoy sex too. It's not just for the man. As well as like helping a whole host of things like polyamorous people. Because when you get to the sex in that, it does add some layers. And outside of working directly with clients, I do, well, before COVID, do a lot of group education type things, like, educating frat houses on safe sex and the definition of rape, because surprise, surprise, most people don't know what rape actually is. It's surprising. They just don't get little things like she can say yes and then later change her mind. There's like, what Sherry said, yes, what does it matter? Just education in general.
That when is it rape? That is a whole episode right there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So just FYI, we have gotten so much positive feedback already. We hadn't even started, and we got so much positive feedback about this stuff. This whole topic, just like sex in general, and the freedom to talk about it. That Lori and I are already actually talking to Kaston about maybe potentially making this like a regular segment, which would be fantastic. I think it would be great for this, but it's like it's a perfect but there's a word and I can't think of it, but it's it's a great fit for for pop culture and stuff. Like, this is a thing that should be talked about, and if we throw it into all our other pop culture nerdy stuff, then maybe people are gonna be able to feel more comfortable talking about it.
Yes, normalizing it is very important, because then you have more open communication and less bad shit in general happen around sexuality.
So everybody, let us know in the comments, like, what do you think about that idea? Because we could totally make this like a monthly thing. Can't make it a weekly thing, because that's literally every episode can't be about sex, because we have too many really fun things to talk about. But we could totally do this on a regular basis, and that would be fantastic. So let us know in the comments. And speaking of comments, Michael on Facebook, Mike Dolan says, hair colors that may be found in nature but rarely on mammals. The rainbow, yes.
Actually, that is not true. There are lots of iridescent birds that have every color in the rainbow.
That's true.
Yes.
So
technically birds aren't mammals, so he's still right. Birds aren't mammals.
I don't think there's any mammals that have anything like that. Like purple, I don't know. Like they'll have the dark, the dark black that's, almost purple. Like there's some panthers that are such a black that in sunlight kind of look purple. Mm-hmm. But Not this purple.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think and I'm coming up with nothing. So
It's
For
like a
people that said
like a
double
bird of
wall.
paradise.
Yes.
yes.
There's lots of birds of paradise.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Oh, Keiko is on Facebook prison.
Yeah,
What?
Keiko, yeah, she got put in Facebook jail for making I almost got banned for this, like where like you jokingly say, well, I'm gonna kill them. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So Facebook
I got put in.
you gotta spell it KYLL, folks.
right.
I got a warning. My status is on warning right now because this lady posted photos of her bathroom that her cat had been sick and just absolutely destroyed the bathroom with poo and litter and just ripped up stuff everywhere. And I said, "Oh my God, burn it down and start over again." And they gave me a warning and they were going to ban me. And I was like, "For what? It was a joke." Oh my God. And I've seen people make that very same joke so many times since. Facebook is the worst. Anyway, where were we? So sorry about the Facebook jail, but at least you got to come. I'm glad you made it anyway. And Matt said, "Yay, we got a jailbird." Scarlet's Melody on Twitch says, "Do it," which I'm assuming is referring to making this a regular thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matt's gonna be the heckler in the crowd here. Every episode can't be about sex. Unsubscribed. We talked about Karate Kid last week. Where were you then? There was oh, Keiko said it was fork-based violence. Fork-based? I mean, that's I need to know that story actually, I think, because like now that the gears are turning, I'm like, I need to know that story. So you just drop that in my private messages on the Facey Space. Astian said, "I remember that," and I don't immediately forgot what it was that I was talking about that needed to be remembered. So Dirk Don says, "Don't go to jail just because someone because someone to go to it."
I just caused someone to go.
I just caused someone to go to it. Okay, geez. I was reading it with the wrong whatever.
You're fine.
It's forking unbelievable. Nice. I thought that Kaston was supposed to be the bad joke.
I mean, but you keep talking over me. I've had 3, but
Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, speaking of forking, here's that.
Facebook algorithms are run by that woman in The Simpsons who says won't somebody think of the children all the time. Yeah. And also, I love the rainbow bangs, Keiko says.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
They're
this
amazing.
Is relatively new for me. Rainbow bangs. I've only had it for maybe 4 or 5 weeks now. I want to do something different. Lots of big changes in my life, so I had to reflect that in my own hair.
Works for me. It looks great too. Yeah, I think.
Thank you.
So everybody start dropping your questions that you want to talk about here. Drop them in the comments here because I don't think we got any anonymous questions in the mailbag. So
well, that's good. That means everybody is brave enough to just, with their own name stamp next to it, ask why is my pee-pee burn? So
exactly. Well, if you want to also, Kaston, just if you want to talk about some common questions that you get or some common issues that you deal with, we can start with that.
I could go with that whole Catholic guilt thing because I got tons of stuff on that.
We will do that second. The first thing I want to do is the first thing that I ever wrote an article about when I was a sexpert for a magazine. I was the resident writer for that. But the first article I did on that is something that is talked about the least, but is kind of the most important since so many people do it. Anal sex, because you're doing it wrong. There's certain ways to do it that are pleasurable and nice, as it should be. And there's others which are traumatic and will make your female never, ever want to do it again if you do it wrong. You don't just stick it in there. No, you gotta sweet, sweet love. You got to lube it up. You got to rub around, start with one finger, then two. Lots of lube because the anus does not make its own lubrication. I highly recommend silicone lubricant as opposed to water-based, since that gets absorbed very quickly. And always use a condom, because she can be as clean as possible, or he, but in this context, it's typically the female on the bottom. It's like, use a condom, because you can get some issues. I know someone that had unprotected anal sex and got a rash and some issues they had to go to the doctor for. And it just makes it easier to clean up. And once you go to the back, you can't go back around to the front unless you're wearing a condom. Like, you don't double dip. That is never, ever double dip. Bad.
I actually feel like, from personal experience, that lube in general is just a good idea, regardless of where you're at, because it's sometimes if you are like, your brain is into it but your body's not, you just need to.
Well, I feel like a lot of men get the wrong impression from porn too, because like in porn, right? See, like in porn, they just like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, spit on the butthole, and we're good. Let's go. Like,
well, you can. Saliva is a great lubricant. There's two kinds of saliva. You got your regular water-based saliva, and then when you get really hot and heavy, you have a thicker saliva that's great for lube. And if you've ever like brushed your teeth and gone too far back and kind of gagged yourself, that type of super sticky saliva you get from doing that, great for lube, but you have to reapply just like water-based. And for God's sakes, make sure to brush your teeth before sex, especially if you're going to use saliva. Come on, please.
Man, already we've jumped into things that I really didn't expect us to talk about. See, this is like everybody's coming in thinking that we're gonna be all sexy talking. It's like, no, brush your teeth before sex. So yeah, all good tips. Which
just the tip? Any Archer fans? Come on.
No, I actually don't watch that one.
Sacrilege. Really good.
I have too much shit to watch, and so instead of watching anything new ever, I just watch the same TV shows, like the same 3 shows over and over and over again.
Comforting. It is comforting, especially if you're stressed out, because you know what's coming.
If you know what I mean. Matt said, I have a question with regards to talking sex on Facebook. Can you talk about Facebook groups / hookups and safety with regards to that?
Oh, that's a big one. So yes, there are a lot of Facebook groups for dating and hookups. They are safer than some other places you can go to, but just like with our standard rule in the kink community, to be safe, vet anybody. If you have a connection with someone, you are chatting, get that person to give you some references of previous partners. And if their previous partners are open and willing to give you a good recommendation, like even if they're not perfect, none of us are perfect, but if they're willing to stand up and say, hey, this person's pretty damn decent. Yeah, they did this one little dicky thing, but overall they're a pretty good human being. That's good. Always vet folks. But still be careful. Don't give someone your home address. I know people who've done this. Don't do that. And meet in a public place. I mean, with COVID, it makes it a little more difficult. Wear your mask and get a motherfucking shot, please. And let your friends know where you're going, that you're meeting a new person, and do what's called a safe call when you get home, which is you let them know, like, okay, I plan to be home, no later than midnight. And so you let them know that you made it home, or if you're staying later, let them know that too. So if something happens and you do get kidnapped and thrown into a trunk, somebody will start looking for you rather quickly.
Right.
I do that when I like buy a plant from somebody off Facebook. It's like,
yes.
I will literally text like 4 people and be like, if I don't text you back in 20 minutes, call the police and tell them I'm at this address.
Perfect.
And that's for a plant. You don't fuck around when it comes to meeting strangers. You got to be careful.
Yes.
And yeah, like we meet at a gas station. I always am like, a gas station at 5:00 in the afternoon is going to be super busy. Yeah.
And
got to do it. Yes. We got some more comments coming in. Steven said, laugh my fucking ass off. You all sighed in unison after porn. Yes.
Would you like me to go into how fucked
so
up
many.
porn has fucked our sexual society?
Oh my god. Oh
yes,
my god.
You should.
Oh my god.
First off, most guys' dicks aren't that big. The average size penis is 5.5 inches, and that is just fine. A standard woman's vagina is depth of 4 inches. So even if you're below average, you can still bottom out and have a gay good time. Like, it's fine. Second, women need foreplay, and some dudes do as well. We need foreplay. Like, at least half an hour to an hour of something other than your dick inside her to get her nice and lubed up. And in most cases, if a woman is highly lubricated, that usually means that you've done a good job. But that is not to say that every woman is the same. Like Lori mentioned before, that sometimes you need lube, and that's okay too. But don't jump into it. Not all of us make noises. They're because of, and we'll get to what Sarah said, this is part of it though, because of growing up in such a sexually repressive society, it's not okay for women to feel pleasure during sex, and they feel guilty about it. And so they'll lay there silently and not make a sound. And so we're not going to yell and scream and, daddy pound me harder. Like, that's just not the norm. Not to say that that doesn't exist, but in the norm, that is not going to be the thing that happens. And women can have multiple orgasms, but a lot of the time, because we don't communicate, we're not taught that it's okay to talk about sex. We don't communicate about what we want. We fake our orgasms, and that gives y'all a false sense of, oh, I must be fucking awesome. But shit takes time. And although a woman can orgasm very quickly or take a long time, either is okay. But what happens in a porn is not reality. That's like watching The Simpsons and thinking that's a representation of Earth.
Right.
It's not the same. Anything y'all want to add that I skipped on the porn stuff, since y'all both highly agreed with me?
Well, I guess the main thing I would add is that, like, porn is really marketed towards men. Like, it really is. It's they don't really have like women watching it in mind when they make most porn anyway. Like,
that's not even just porn. That's like, watch a sex scene in a PG-13 movie. It's geared towards men.
Well, men are visually turned on. And women are more mentally turned on. Of course, this isn't 100%, there's just on average. Mm-hmm. Most women, the way they consume porn is reading, or like for me, Audible. Audible has so many great, really dirty books. And most of them written by women. So as a man, if you want to be a better sex partner, read some porn written by a woman, because they go into depth.
Top tip.
And I'm reading a series now. There's 50 books in this series, FYI. I'm on book 20.2. It's called Brides of the Kindred. And this author has set up a race of giant males that worship a female goddess that are genetically required to go down on their females. And the female's pleasure is always first. Read the book. They go into great detail of that every movement that is made. And so it could be a step-by-step guide, as well as have a really great storyline too, because it's not just about the sex. It's like real life. There's the story, and sex is part of it, because sex is part of life. And most books you read kind of, gloss over that. But it's just, I love it, and it's great. So go read some female written porn, or listen to it on Audible. Do I get paid for that? Right?
Absolutely not something I would have ever considered. Like, if a guy's like, how can I make sex better for my woman? And I'd be like, I don't fucking know. Maybe ask her.
Yes.
But yeah, read female written porn. That's such a good idea.
Thank you.
And it's such a, like, it's kind of one of those ones that you say it and then I'm like, of course.
Right?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Porn that is made for men is just not. I'm sure it gets guys off when they watch it, but that's the only people that it tends to get off.
It's
And
not.
it's
It's not the same. Yeah.
no.
Well, they've got like 5 minutes to do a sex scene because the guys are gonna fap and orgasm before this, so they can't stretch it out. They need to condense it all and cover everything from the lady opening the door to the pizza man until they're all sweaty wrapped in the covers. They do that in 5 minutes, so that I get understandable. But I like more of the long build of a book, which basically, if you read dirty books, you're just kind of horny all the time. Like in a good way, not like, rubbing on the side of the desk or anything, but I don't know. I like it. It's great.
If you're a visual person too, there's a couple of really good, sexy web comics and that are just amazing. I roved out in search of truth and love. If you guys haven't read that, you should read it immediately. It not only is the storyline great, like the porn in it is like some of the nicest porn I've ever seen. Like it's beautiful art and pornographic and amazing, and it's just like stuff like that I would also recommend.
Oh, that reminds me, one more other issue with porn. Most women's vaginas do not look like a 12-year-old. The shape of the vulva in most of the women portrayed in porn has been altered so significantly that they look like a 12-year-old. Women have a labia, and they're different sizes and different shapes depending on the woman. And some of them will have more flesh than others. That is okay. Some of them will have less. Every vulva you see is going to be absolutely different.
That's one of my big griefs about that in porn they infantilize the women in there, no hair anywhere. Let's make sure everything is pulled as tightly as we can, and like off camera they're like taped on their backs and stuff. It's just they just make them look as, and it's just gross. I mean, when you think about the implications, like what does that mean? Why do they do that?
I know exactly why they do that and the implications of it. If you go not too far back in human history, we only lived to maybe 25, 30 years max, in some cases 20. So you had to reproduce as soon as you hit puberty. And so it is genetically written into, man's DNA that you want young and fertile and healthy. We didn't have medical care back then. So the younger the person was when they got pregnant, the higher the chances were that they could give birth to the child successfully and possibly have more babies. So we can't just blame, dirty old men for that. There is a little bit of genetic drive for that preference. But that doesn't mean that we can't, with our big brain meats, overcome that genetic programming and realize, oh, well, we live to like 80 and 90 years old now. Let's change what we think is beautiful.
And not start by mass media crap. We should start with porn. Because God.
Yeah.
So
we do have some questions. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so one question here. My special lady and I are happy when we're together, but I'm worried about long-term compatibility. I like to be gentle with her, just cuddling and snuggling and tickling, etc., and she does appreciate it. However, she also likes rougher activity like biting and spanking and choking, and that terrifies me. I freeze up like Robbie the Robot in Forbidden Planet when he's ordered to shoot the captain. I just can't bring myself to possibly hurt a lady, even if she asks me to do it.
Easy way around that. In the kink community, we use what is called the red light system, where it's green, yellow, red. And if you have constant feedback that what you're doing is good, like every time you smack them, they say green, that means they want it and they like it, and that gives you that positive feedback. And you keep doing that with every strike, get them to tell you a color. And when you get to yellow, that's the level you want, because green is I want more, yellow is that's the most I can take, I like it, and red is absolutely fucking stop. But it is difficult undoing an entire lifetime of learning of not to hit women. But the key to that is to not to hit women in anger, not to hit women in revenge. Hitting women because it turns them on and makes them happy is a completely different thing. And in some people, the way that the nerves are wired in the brain, pain can be pleasurable. Like anything you do pain-wise, especially if it's enough, procs your brain to release all of those nice endorphins that get you high as fuck. So yeah, it does feel good if done right. just make sure you're safe about it. Have open, honest communication. And if you still find that it's something you can't do, be communicative with her and let her know that, hey, this is the boundary of mine. You know, I really appreciate you trusting me enough to ask me this, but it's just not something I can give. And that is okay too.
Standing. So yeah, if you have any follow-ups for that question, just go ahead and drop them in the comments.
Yes, please.
Oh my God. I gotta do it. Can't see shit. That's better. Well, I feel a bit more comfortable about my vagina now. It's like 6 inches deep, if that. TMI. It's not TMI. We're in a
not TMI.
There's no such thing.
TMI. You're fine. You're totally fine. It can be painful at times. Yeah. It can be, even if you have a quote unquote normal vagina and a, you know, average guy or average sized guy, it can be painful. It just depends. Just depends on what's happening.
It's
bajillion reasons.
There's an issue that is very common amongst women where they do have pain with sex, and it has nothing to do with not being turned on enough or not wanting it. It's just kind of a genetic hangover from us transitioning to having our genitals hanging outside of us with, you know, like think of bonobo or something, to it being between our legs, and how all of the anatomy has had to change around that. Definitely go see your doctor about it, because there are ways to fix it. It could be as simple as a muscle is just too tight, and all it takes is a tiny slit of that muscle and all of your pain goes away. But talk to your gynecologist about it, and it could be a really easy fix for you. But you're normal. That is something that is very, very common amongst women, but not talked about because of the whole shame thing. But you're good. Please go see a doctor about it. And so you can have a fruitful, not pregnancy wise, unless you want to, sex life with your partner or partners or future partners.
Nice. Thank you. Keiko said, porn screwed me as a Japanese woman. I don't make sounds like I'm being murdered. Oh, I saw some Japanese porn just once or twice. And yeah, they always make it as though it's like the woman's unwilling. Yeah. It's not
absolutely good. It's the rape fantasy culture of the she says no but she really means yes type thing, and they really play into that. I'm a big fan of hentai. I love hentai, but I'm very particular about it. I like my hentai with willing partners. I like my hentai without octopus for sure, and that the women are into it. If there's ever any scene that's like that at all, it's role play, and it's set up in the beginning of it that it's role play, that they're going to do a scene. But yeah, just in general, that does give the idea of, well, when she does say no, she really means yes, or we can do whatever we want, because, you know, this dude on the show and all the other shows I've seen have just, you know, found a woman and taken her. So no, I absolutely get that. And I know how Asian women, more than any other of the ethnicities in here, and sorry, my cat, here in America, get sexualized way more than most any other. So I'm sorry you've had to deal with that, and I do hope it gets better. And if you have children, especially girls, that it's even better for them.
Absolutely. Dirk Dunn says, when I was a young lad, I didn't have sex ed or the talk. I learned about sex through porn.
Yeah.
And I bet that fucked you up when you actually started to date and do stuff with women, right? I mean, yeah. And Matt said, same, bro. Yeah. Katie said the comic Alfie, when we were talking about female driven porn. There's a comic called Alfie, which she actually introduced me to, and it is fantastic. I love that comic. There's a couple of them out there that are really good that I know of, and Alfie is one of them.
Now we have 3 for 3 in the stream of women admitting to not only consuming but enjoying porn. So that is also another huge misconception, is that women don't like porn. We just don't like that kind of porn.
Yes. Yeah, no, I would never say that I don't like porn. I just don't. Yeah, like the reading the porn in one of my first experiences was when I found a box of my mom's smut novels, and I was just looking for anything to I want to read all the books phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably only like 13 years old at the time. So I don't know what age. That's a good question for you. What age is appropriate to start exploring this kind of stuff? Because I don't know what age that was.
As soon as they learn how to talk. Like, seriously, absolutely. As soon as a child learns how to talk, you have age-appropriate sex education. And it starts with knowing the real name of genitals. An issue that comes up and is super sad is like girls are taught that their genitals are called like hoo-ha and stuff like that, you know, these weird names. And so if a child goes up to the teacher and say, hey, little Johnny touched my hoo-ha, she doesn't know what you're talking about and will just like, oh, go sit down, he's not bothering you, let it go. And that teaches them that it's okay for their body to be violated. Teach your children the proper names of all of the body parts, and that anything that is under a swimsuit, nobody should touch but mommy and daddy. And anything outside the swimsuit, people can only touch with your permission. And it's okay to say no to a hug or a touch of any kind. And as they grow up, if you have this open communication with them and don't make them feel shamed or judged, as their brain develops, they will come to you with more questions. And a big one that I get a lot is, okay, you know, my 7-year-old came to me and asked, where do babies come from? I'm not ready for that talk. Like, a 7-year-old's not going to understand exactly how a baby is made. You go into generalizations of it, that it takes part of a man and part of a woman to come together inside the woman's body so a baby can grow. That's all they need to know at 7 years old. When their brain develops more and they come back with other questions of, well, what part of daddy and what part of mommy comes together? Then you give them a little more information. It's just a slow process of just them like learning math or learning science or learning the English language or whatever language is their primary. It's not an all-in-one thing, which is what our kind of society sets up to do. They just wait till you're a teenager and have all the raging hormones and just sprinkle some information that might not be correct or might be outdated. It should be a normal part of growing up, because sexuality is a normal part of being a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that comment you said, wait until you're a teenager and then they kind of just toss little bits at you and then like you don't know what the fuck. It's just
that seems like it's super common in the United States as well.
Yes.
Like it's and
terrible. If you even get any sex education at all, it's bad sex education. And then they tell you, but don't do any of that stuff.
Yep.
It's like, of course they're they're fucking teenagers. That's the first thing they're gonna do is go try the shit. That's why DARE is such a stupid program.
But yes, you have all of these hormones coursing through their body. Plus, their frontal lobe isn't fully developed yet, and that's where you make decisions and you look at the long-term effects of said decisions. That's not fully developed. They got all of these raging hormones going on. The vast majority of them are going to have sex in some context, and they need to have this information to keep them safe. And scaring them by telling them you could go to hell or many of the other things they do isn't effective. And it's been proven that comprehensive age-appropriate sex education lowers the pregnancy rate and STI rate among teenagers more than anything else. Telling teenagers not to have sex and scaring them doesn't work. And even if you were to completely separate boys and girls and make them stay in their own schools, you still have the gay kids, and you're still going to have boys experimenting with boys and girls experimenting with girls, because even if you're straight, you do that. I am sure that neither one of y'all can tell me, if you had a lot of friends growing up, that at a sleepover when you were a little girl, y'all didn't play, touch the other girl's body under the sleeping bag. Like, that is just a normal part of growing up. And same thing with boys, hanging out with other boys when they're young, because there's so much focus on the dick and stuff. They're going to have peeing contests all the time. They're going to, they will be in contact with that. And that is normal. But shaming kids for that, that's when you get into issues. And you need to, educate them so they know and can make a decision for themselves that is best for them, their future, and their happiness.
Absolutely. There are comments coming in now pretty regular here. So
yeah, the answer is
yeah, okay. Dirk Don said, even if it's just a role play, I can't do anything regarding a rape fetish. I think that goes back on the rough sex stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So
A limit's a limit, and your partner has to respect that. They don't have to be happy about it, but they have to respect that. And that is okay. Don't do something you're not comfortable with. Like if you're like, okay, I'll try this, and you try it and you don't like it, that's okay. No means no, and that goes for guys too.
Absolutely. That's a very good thing to say and keep saying. Is like, no means no, and it doesn't matter what your gender is.
Mm-hmm.
Gender, sex, whatever. That's another, that's another episode. That's a whole other episode.
Sex and gender.
Whole nother episode, because yeah, I'm unintentionally offensive to people all the time about that. I was like, no, I promise I'm on your side. I'm just really stupid and I don't know how to say these things right. so well, yeah.
Sex is your chromosome. Gender is what you identify as.
Thank you. I'll try to remember that for future, but I'm going to screw up. I'm just, yeah, to everybody who I'm probably going to offend at some point in the future, I promise I'm not trying to do that.
Easy way to remember, sex has an X in it, and you have an XX chromosome, you're female, you have an XY, you're a male. So sex is chromosome.
Yeah, that actually makes a better connection in the brain.
Awesome.
We're good. Katie and Keiko are both saying what they watch and consume porn. I should say consume, because watching and reading are different. So, and Katie said, I will admit to having written some too.
Haven't we all? At least in our brains.
Oh yeah, totally have. Yeah, I've written it down and then gone, this is terrible and I'm a bad person, and then like destroy everything.
Wait, terrible because the writing's bad, or because it's about
terrible because when I would write it, I was like still hard into Catholicism and living with my parents, where my super weirdly religious family, and yeah yeah, we could do a whole episode on why Sarah's fucked up. We could.
Yeah, well, you have guilt. The guilt is instilled,
Well, what we could do, Sarah, is actually have a therapy session between me and you that people could watch and get an idea of what I do, if you'd be amenable to that.
That would be good for both of us, wouldn't it? That would be like good for you could show it to your potential clients, because I don't care and I don't know them. I don't give a shit.
I am a new client, by the way.
There you go. And is this something that you do via the interwebs as well?
Yes. Before COVID, for my local folks, I would go to their house, because talking about such topics, you want them to be in the most comfortable place possible.
Absolutely.
But yeah, since COVID, everything has gone digital.
It's, and like for people who are out in Narnia or wherever,
it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter where you live at all.
Yeah, it's like it's helpful to have that beautiful internet connection. So.
Yes, especially if you're on the other side of the planet. That works for me, because I'm a night owl that usually goes to bed around 4 a.m., wakes up at the crack of noon. So that isn't an issue.
Perfect. So all right, let's get, because I don't want to run behind on the comments here, but Dirk Don said, Sarah, I actually had a great sex life ever since it started. I learned a lot, including ideas of things I can do as a partner. Learning sex through porn didn't fuck me up about it. That's good for you, because I feel like I definitely was like, my first experiences consuming visual porn was very like, what the fuck is this? What it's like, and like growing into my teenager and early 20s, thinking that that's how it was, and being surprised when I experienced it, and I was like, this is all wrong.
Yes.
Mike said, thank you for the suggestion. So we're back on the rough sex stuff. So it's just that coming from an abusive household, I'm kind of a Pavlov's dog condition that hurting someone you love is not a thing you do ever. I will try for her if she asks me. I have established that the safe word is meatloaf. I'll do anything for love, but
yes, I've seen that meme so many times.
Yeah, safe word's a thing that I think gets a lot of punchline. It ends up being a punchline a lot, but it's really a good idea to have. I mean, it's the red, yellow, the green. What'd you say? Red, yellow, green.
Yellow, red. Yeah, and red would be the safe word, basically.
Yeah, that's an excellent tool to use as well. So I think that because that's when you said that, that's what I thought of, was like, oh, it's like a safe word. So Yeah, if you go too far, then you say your safe word now. So, Katie said, I learned way more about sex from buying a copy of The Valley of Horses by Jean M. All? I don't know how to say that name. In a charity shop when I was like 12 than I did from sex ed in school. Katie, drop in the comments how bad sex ed is in Scotland, because it's bad here, but I'm curious to compare. Katie's in Scotland.
I thought the UK area was.
Yeah, she moved. She moved too, so I want to I don't know. It might be pre-Scotland, because you were in England and then went to Scotland. I'm a terrible friend that I don't know that for sure, but
yeah, I'm still surprised though, because I'm from Canada and the sex ed was pretty good.
Yeah,
so I'm surprised in the UK it wasn't better.
Yeah,
because
they can have billboards there with breasts on them, so that's one less part of the female body that's sexualized.
I had a unique, I guess it's not unique, but it's probably unusual sex ed experience where I had sex ed in a Catholic school, and then I went to a public school for my 8th grade year and had sex ed there as well. So it was interesting to say the least.
And we learn more about
talk about that in that public session that we're gonna do, because oh boy. So Katie says, technically I have my sex ed in England, but mostly what I remember was a teacher putting a condom on a test tube.
I mean, you use what's available, and if teachers there don't get the funding they do here, that makes sense.
Yeah, but bananas are more, they definitely give women a very bad idea of what size those things are, but
yes.
They're not the banana size. They're not. I have seen
somewhere between banana and test tube would be more average.
I have seen a sex ed teacher who carries around wooden penises. That's what they use for the condom demonstration, which is
what it should be. Or I
would
prefer to use, a silicone dong that actually looks like a penis and testicles, because then that looks way more realistic, and you can stick it on a whiteboard and roll the condom down on it. So yeah,
and it's not like those things aren't available. They're everywhere. You can get freaking 12 of them for $100 on Amazon. So they're there, and they're easy to find, and you can get them in every color, including the non-natural ones, like Kaston's.
Sort of inside of that topic, I find it interesting that we don't allow people to buy sex toys until they're 18 or 21 in the US?
18, and it's probably a state by state thing, but in Texas anyway, it's 18.
Which I think is stupid. Maybe that's just me, but they should be able to do that as soon as when they want to.
Exactly. And it was just a few years ago that sex toy shops could actually legally exist. After college, I worked in one for a while, and we had to call all of the dildos cake toppers and all of the vibrators massagers.
Right.
Because they could literally shut you down if you did not. It was just like going into a head shop, and they have to use the word bubbler instead of bong. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Imagine that as a cake topper. What the fuck? Sweet 16.
Bachelorette cake.
Right, that's ridiculous. Wow.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's the best. I remember going to a sex store in Utah, of all places. There's one that's maybe it's Wyoming, but it's right on the border of Wyoming and Utah. And it was something about the biggest store in Utah. Yeah, it must have been in Wyoming. It was the biggest store in Utah that wasn't in Utah or something. Mm-hmm. And I went in there wearing my Green Bay Packers big puffy jacket, and they gave me a whole bag of stuff, a whole goodie bag, because I wasn't from there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was and all because I wore my Packers jacket, and I was this just because it's cold. It's November.
It's not an anal joke at all, I promise.
Not that time. Yeah, we could throw in the Packers jokes too, because they do kind of suck right now. So, right.
I don't do sports ball.
Honestly, I don't really anymore either, but I used to be very into football. And then I started dating the guy that I'm dating now, who has some weird problem about stealing broadcasts off the internet, which I don't know, man.
ESPN is expensive, man.
It is. And like, I don't give a shit if I'm stealing from Fox. Come on.
What have they done for you, but made this horrible pandemic worse from misinformation?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So, banana not for scale. No. You said, hey, some guys have banana.
Not a typo.
Is it story time?
Not for sale.
Heather said, actually, I had pretty good sex ed in Montana with guest speakers from Planned Parenthood at what?
Whoa!
In Utah, sex ed was pretty much non-existent. Now that one tracks, but fucking, you got guest speakers from Planned Parenthood? What? Holy shit!
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I actually applied for Planned Parenthood right after college. In fact, that was my goal, was to work for Planned Parenthood. But in Texas, they have to watch their P's and Q's. And they told me, it's like, you're awesome. We love you, but you're too liberal. You'll get us in trouble. And they're right. I would have absolutely gotten them in trouble and got so much flack from all of the red folks here.
Oh,
so I'm doing my own thing.
I believe it. Ugh. I do not know how to pronounce your name there on Twitch, but you said Fox and Disney ain't missing your $10. They have barrels of money. And yes,
exactly.
That's absolutely my reasoning. And I don't have $10 usually. It certainly didn't when I was stealing the broadcast. So, and then, yeah, I was like, okay, if you don't want me to do that, then let's go down to the bar so I can watch the game. And he's all like, but I don't want to. You can get hepatitis from the peanut basket. Which I guess fair. It's not exactly the cleanest place in the world, but okay. I think we're caught up on questions here. So guys, drop more questions for us. Heather did say it was because I was in the liberal pariah of Montana, Missoula.
Yeah, Missoula is unbelievable because like Montana is so red, but Missoula is really blue, like abnormally blue for how red the rest of the state is. Like it's super, super liberal. It's kind of amazing.
Same with Austin, but the fucking Republicans know how to work it, and the districting looks like a pizza. So downtown Austin, where all the liberals live, is like 8 or 9 different districts because it's just the tip of all these pizza slices that encompass all of the outer areas where all the farmers and conservatives are. So yeah,
they got good at gerrymandering. It's a fucking science. Yeah, that's kind of not entirely dissimilar from Wisconsin. Like technically we're a purple state, but it's all red. It's super red, except for Madison and Jesus Christ, what is the name of the biggest city? Milwaukee. Oh my God, I forgot the name of the biggest city in the state. Woo! Milwaukee smells like a fart because there's lots of paper factories there. That's literally the only
paper factories are the worst. Oh wait, there's one worse: dog food factory.
Ooh,
have not smelled that one.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, paper factories. I don't know. They're gross. Matt says, what about erectile dysfunction? I think this is an important topic. And I think that maybe I missed a comment because I do remember seeing that before. Important topic. And a lot of folks don't talk enough about it among men.
Yes.
There's a lot of shame too.
Has so much shame around it. And from our societal setup of the definition of what is masculine, what it is to be a man, and what it is to be a man is to have a dick that's erect, that shoots white stuff that can get a woman pregnant. And that's not the definition of a man. And so when erectile dysfunction comes into the mix, there's so much shame surrounding it, to the same level of a woman who gets breast cancer and has to get her breasts removed. And it's this thing that's just not talked about. It's not something that just happens with old men. And that's what the thought is. You can have young men that have erectile dysfunction, and young men that are on medication that one of the side effects is erectile dysfunction. But thankfully, there's lots of medications and methods that work that can get around that. Of course, there's the little blue pill, Viagra, that everybody knows about, that works great. There's also like penis pumps with cock rings that would just basically sucks the blood into the penis. You put the cock ring on the base to keep the blood in there. I mean, there's ways around it, and there's no shame in that. You can't control that a part of your body isn't functioning the way you want it to function. And it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to talk to your partner about it. It's not anything that's shameful. It's not your fault. It's not reflective on who you are as a person or how you represent your gender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention too that, like, if you're a partner of someone who has erectile dysfunction, it's important to remember that it's also not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you shouldn't feel like you're subpar or you're doing anything wrong. And you shouldn't make your partner more anxious by being like, is it me? I'm so, you know what I mean? Like, and then you have like this cycle of anxiety and issues because of that.
And it's so hung up on that this erection means so much to the people involved in the sexual relationship, and it not being there can mean so many different things. And since usually in most cases of sexual dysfunction, it's the woman, it's just easier to shift blame, to themselves, like, oh, it's me, it's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough. And that's bullshit. You can be amazing and great and a real life porn star in bed, and it won't matter if there's a physical or psychological reason for the erectile dysfunction, because stress is also a huge thing that causes erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
And every man will experience at least a few episodes of erectile dysfunction, even if there's nothing physically wrong, because of the psychological aspect of it. If you're under immense stress, it's really, really hard to pop a boner. Like, you just can't concentrate on happy, sexy, fun times because you've got so much shit due, and the bills are overdue, and the kids are coming over next weekend, and all the other things. But it's okay, and there's nothing wrong with it. And if it's just a mental thing, then don't have sex this time, or just focus on your other partner and give them oral pleasure. Your orgasm isn't necessary to having a complete sexual experience. It's just both partners enjoying themselves. Orgasm should never ever be the end goal of what sex is. It's just part of it.
Oh my God, say that one again. It don't have to happen for it to be fun. That's, oh my God, I have said that to partners in the past.
Yep.
That's why they're in the past.
I had a thought, and I'm trying to remember it now. As everybody who's watched the show before, and like Lori knows, like, I have ADD, I have ADHD, and I'm like, this is about the time that the stuff starts wearing off, and even when it's full blast, it's still kind of bad.
You're doing okay.
Katie, carry on here. Because Katie actually asked about if you work with people who are asexual.
Oh yeah. I've had asexual folks. The kind of issue with being asexual is figuring out that that's what it is, and it's not because you haven't found a partner that excites you yet. It's kind of a diagnosis of no results in a way. But by the time you reach your, mid-20s or so, if you've really never been interested in sex, I mean, you likely are asexual. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You can have a wonderful, fulfilling, romantic relationship with someone and just cuddle and have physical affection and not have the orgasms. There's nothing wrong with that. It's hard to find other individuals that would be okay with that. And an asexual person can have sex if they want to, if they love someone a lot and that other person, sex is important to them. That is something they can participate in if they want to. But there is nothing wrong with being asexual. You're not broken at all. And it's just a natural variation of what we all are, because there's not gay, straight, horn dog to asexual. It's like my fucking bangs, a rainbow. And everybody falls somewhere on that spectrum. And whatever your numbers are is your normal and okay, because guess what? You were born that way.
Did you ever see that episode of House?
I've watched all the episodes.
Okay, so you probably will know this one, where a couple comes in and I don't remember why they came in to see him, but the point was that they were asexual and they were together. I think they were married. And then House was just obsessed with the idea of, no, they're not. There's not asexual. They can't be asexual because they can't be asexual. and he ended up finding like cancer or something in the guy. It was some disease that was like scary but totally fixable. And the woman turned out like she had been lying to him about being asexual. And so it's like there was a multitude of problems with that I had with that episode once I thought about it for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that is something that can happen, that you have a medical condition of some variety that just kind of turns off the sex hormones that could be fixed. But there's a huge difference between having a medical issue and that's just being how you are. But in having both of those, the members of the couple, that being the issue, that for the male, it was a medical issue, and for the female, she was lying, that one kind of dismisses anybody that is asexual and kind of sets up for the whole lying woman thing of, or just lying to your partner to make them happy. Don't do that shit. Be honest. And goddamn, with COVID and everybody being stuck at home, do you know what the divorce rate is right now? I'm included in that, by the way. That same thing happened to me and several people I know. Because if you have any cracks in that foundation, they're going to get widened by shit like that. You want to prevent that? Open, honest communication.
Remember how it was so hilarious? Like all the media were predicting it was going to be a baby boom, and it's like, no, I was like, oh hell no, you're never going to want to have sex with that person again after spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months in that building with them. No, I was like, we were my boyfriend and I were watching the news where they said that, and I was like, oh, that's bullshit. And he kind of was like, you think so? And I was like, oh yeah, if anything, there's going to be a shitload of breakups. And I was right.
Well, everyone's stressed. Everyone's super high stress. Everyone's anxious. Everyone's like wondering what the fuck's going to happen next in the world. And then they're also trapped together while they're both dealing with this. Like it takes really good communication and like a really, like you said, like an honest and open relationship to really get through something like this. Like it's rough.
And this is an unprecedented situation for the whole world. Like we haven't had this in the lifetimes of pretty much everybody. Like there's like 10 people that are still alive that were alive during the last pandemic. And so this is it has made us all discover things about ourselves that even we didn't know, because we've never had to do this before. So of course it's going to have issues with, your partner and things that you didn't know about them. It's crazy.
And a lot of people spent the time working on themselves, just kind of took advantage of, okay, now I have this time to do this self-work. And a lot more people went into therapy, not just because of the stress, but because they had time. Those couple of hours being saved in commuting could be put to good use. And if you work on yourself and better yourself and find that your partner isn't meeting you at that level, then things are going to end and you're going to move on. And that's okay. Just because a relationship ends doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means that it's not right for you anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oops. Mike Watson's here.
Hey, Mike.
So it's not a party unless Mike's here, is it? So Katie said dating sucks in the time of COVID. Hell yeah. Especially where she is up in BFE, because there's like nobody. There's like no people where she lives, I'm pretty sure. So Matt said, yeah, Katie, that's a good point. Any recommendations for dating during COVID?
Well, lots of online stuff. There's been people that have started really good relationships online. You're just waiting to, take it in the flesh, so to speak, when all of this calms down, or when they feel confident enough that they'd be safe enough that it's worth the risk. And if you have that extra time that a lot of us have now because we're stuck at home again, sitting and talking to someone, either texting or voice or video, it gives you a chance to get to know that person without the stress of, oh my God, are we going to have sex tonight? Or, does my breath stink? Or all of the little bitty stressors, like all of that is removed, and you can just sit and talk to someone and really get to know them. And then by the time you meet them in person, you don't feel so guilty about fucking them the first date, because you know what? Y'all been chatting for however long now. And you can do that with multiple people. There's no reason just to start an online relationship with just one person. The chances of you finding that person that fits with you are pretty low. And so carry on several conversations. If you know, half of them kind of fall out of the running, and then you meet them in person and the other half fall out and you're left with one, then perfect. You know, you've done your shopping and taken back everything you don't want, and hopefully you can have a happy relationship. In the meantime, there is lots of wonderful sex toys on Amazon you can buy, and y'all can, you know, simultaneously masturbate over the cam together. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you have a lot of money, they do have these toys now that you can control online, you know, for both the male and female partner, or both male, you know, however your situation is, where the other person can control it. And so you can have basically digital sex now.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
have comments about that. John Oliver just covered digital security surrounding specifically sex toys.
Yeah.
And maybe don't do that until somebody figures out a way to make it a little bit more secure, because you might get plug stuck in you for 48 hours straight because somebody hacked the smartphone of the person who was controlling it.
Well, the chances of that happening are very, very low. But yes, be as safe as you can.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but ew, just the idea that it could happen. I was like, maybe stick to the analog stuff when it comes to the sex toys. I'm all for them. I'm just like, you know, just get the ones that are like the analog remote controls and just give it to them or something. But it is a really unique idea, and it especially in this, like, you know, in COVID times, kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, make sure you got like some VPN shit happening, you know. Get NordVPN or whatever, not sponsored, but just have security there. Have security. I'm just saying.
So
I mean,
so what you're saying is we need to have another guest on to teach us about how to like cybersecurity our dildos and our butt plugs so that we can in fact do this, right?
Yeah, there you go. That would not be me, but yes.
Well, I mean, I know a guy who can do cybersecurity, but I don't know if he's specifically specializing in, you know, butt plugs.
I mean,
and
it's all
vibrators.
the same thing. It's all just, you know, ones and zeros.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
doesn't
specifically
matter.
about butt plugs. It just is just, yeah, cybersecurity in general. So we could do that. But yeah, it's an interesting concept for sure.
I actually have a question kind of out of left field, if you don't mind.
No such thing.
I'd kind of love for you to talk about BDSM and how
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey has ruined that, and also just about BDSM in general and how it should be properly done.
So 50 Shades of Grey is to kink how male-dominated porn is to sex.
Right.
It's a horrible reflection of what it actually is. Like, I am very happy and glad that it's bringing kink more into the mainstream, but it's bringing it into the mainstream with a lot of the wrong ideas. The number one important thing in kink is consent. Consent. Not taking on, you know, someone and they say, do whatever you want to me, and doing that. No. When you see those kinky sex scenes or read the kinky sex scenes, I guarantee you hours of conversation have gone into that, of what's okay and what's not okay and what we can do. So when the time comes, you can have a really fun sex or just kink scene and not have to worry about anything, not have to worry about, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to go wrong? Because you know everything is there already with, you know, a little bit of variation to keep it spicy, but you know the boundaries of it. And so, yeah, fuck 50 Shades. If you want to really read some good kink stuff that is more realistic, oh God, they just fell out of my brain. What's the website? Literotica.com. They have the BDSM and kink category, and go by the star based on that.
That's what I was giggling about. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at.
I was laughing at that too. But they have some really great stuff in there that is reflective of what it is. there's so many different books that are written about kink. Like if you're curious about it, that's what got me into kink was literotica.com, because I would always gravitate towards the kinky section because that kind of scratched a mental itch for me. But it took a decade before I was brave enough to enter my local kink community. And I totally regret not doing it sooner, because those people, I'm going to tell you, they're fucking amazing, because you are automatically trusting them and they are automatically trusting you with the secret that has the potential to destroy their lives. I know multiple famous people, like in the local government, in newscasting, that are part of my kink community, and hundreds of people know it, but you won't hear about it because we keep those secrets, because we know how important that is. We don't want to be outed, and so we won't out anybody else. But kink in general, it is misunderstood because of things like 50 Shades, stuff like Law and Order SVU, although the more recent seasons they have been getting it right, but it was a punchline or a joke, or, it's only the executive that pays somebody to, make them act like a dog and drink out of a water bowl and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of realism to that, but not the overarching thing. A lot of people that are in powerful, stressful positions do enjoy being in a submissive role, so they can give up some of that power and let somebody else make the decisions for a little while. I'm what's called a switch. I like both topping and bottoming. And I started out as just a bottom because I am an alpha. I am the one that always makes all the decision. I'm the one that the responsibility always falls on. And so it's nice to find somebody that I really trust and give that away for a little while. It's relaxing in that, okay, I can just relax and go into the flow. And my multi-tiered brain of hamster wheels isn't always spinning on all the little things that I need to get done in the moment. But it same goes for some people who are just submissive in general and truly do enjoy having other people take the reins. But let's start a little bit at the beginning. What BDSM is? That's a compound acronym. It's actually BD, bondage discipline, DS, so that D is used twice, DS, which is dominant submission, SM, sadomasochism. So there's many levels to it. And a big thing most people don't know, sex and kink are two different things. Like, you can have a kinky relationship with someone with zero sex. Like, that is a norm. That was what I did because I was married. And so all of my kinky relationships for 7 years, there was no sex involved. And I was okay with that because it's a completely separate thing than sex. Yeah, you can meld the two, and yeah, that's wonderful, but it's not part of it. It's something you choose to add. Lori, what else do you want me to go into? Like, just
wow.
Types of play, or what is any of those specific letters in BDSM mean, as far as more than just the letter?
Do you have like a really like a quick basic definition of what each one of those involves, just for everybody who's watching?
So BD, bondage discipline. Bondage, each of the sections, you're going to have an uppercase letter, a slash, and a lowercase. The uppercase letter always goes to the dominant. The lowercase letter goes to the submissive, because that's just how it is. So you have BD, bondage discipline. The bondage part is done by the top, and that's stuff like rope play and handcuffs, anything that secures the other partner from moving and having free reign over their body. The discipline aspect of that is what a lot of people think of as the punishment, spanking or caning or any type of thing that causes discomfort to the bottom. I would like to add, though, that in the community, every community progresses, and ours has progressed, that if there is a DS, dominant submission relationship, that it's not the norm to punish the bottom for doing something incorrectly. That's no longer acceptable in the society. So anytime there is discipline, it is consensual discipline and something that the bottom wants. So that is the BD. The DS is the dominance submission. Again, capital D for dominance, lowercase s for submission. So the dominance is going to be the top. That's the person that makes all of the decisions in that scene or the relationship if it's a 24/7 DS, which means that they live their life. There are a lot of people that do that, but most people either keep it to the bedroom or it's just a part of their relationship and not all of it. And then the S part is the submission, and that is what the submissive partner does, is they give their power of decision making over to another individual that they trust. This is not something you go on a date with somebody and you're like, okay, I'm your submissive now. It does not work like that. Just like with any other dating, this would be kind of the equivalent of getting engaged in a way, because that's how serious it's taken. If you meet randos on the internet and do this, you're doing it wrong. This is something that should be serious and something that meet your local kink groups when they come back. BDDS. SM, so sadomasochism, that's either giving pain or taking pain. So you're either a sadist and like giving it, or you're a masochist and like receiving it. And again, capital M, lowercase s. Yes.
Yes. Love blessings on Twitch. Like everybody responded. Yes, we're live.
We are live.
Yes, please feel free to ask any questions you might have.
Ask away, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to compound on that, Kaston. There are predatory men online who will approach young women and be like, would you like a daddy dom? Yep. And just like straight out shit like that. No, absolutely fucking not. Anyone who approaches you like that is predatory. Like they're not a real dom. They're not safe. Do not ever fucking no.
We call them
never trust a stranger. We talked about that at the beginning. Like,
yes,
never, ever, ever. Even no matter what. Never, never, never.
Yep.
That is, yeah. So I've known about BDSM, all that for a long time, but I guess I never that into learning about it. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm, I'm far past the being shameful about it. It's never something that I was that into. So that was all interesting for me.
Awesome. Yeah. It's just scratches very different. And from a psychological perspective, since what I do is root around in people's brains and figure out their motivations, like that's an awesome one. Why do people want to get the shit beat out of them? Now, keep in mind, not all kinky relationships, someone's going to end up black and blue. Like there's multiple different levels, and you don't get a gold star for taking a huge beating or something. It's not like that. It's not all whips and chains and shit like that. A lot of it's psychological too.
Sure. And in the end, that's what you're trying to satisfy as much your mental stimulation as much as your physical. So
absolutely.
Matt said, definitely talk about predators in the BDSM community. I have a lot of friends who've been preyed on, and it breaks my heart. Yeah. I don't even need to hear any of those stories to know and be horrified by them.
The best thing you can do, and it's really hard right now during COVID, and a lot of the shit's happening, but those predatory individuals are going to be kicked out of your local scene. So if you join the groups that are in your city and area, the people that are joined, they're being held responsible. It's like if they do something wrong, they're going to get kicked out, or you're going to get warnings about them. Some rando on the internet, if you ask them, oh, what groups are you a part of? And they're like, no, I'm not a part of any groups. Walk away. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's such a valuable piece of information there. I feel like you need to write a book or have a blog or something so that people can have that kind, because like that, I didn't know there was kink communities. Is that a thing here? Can I find those people? Because it
Absolutely.
must be, right? I mean, okay. This is like a super, super Catholic city right here that we're in. So maybe not.
That means there's a huge community.
Yes, it does.
You know,
FetLife.org. So FetLife.org. FetLife.org. That is the Facebook.
I don't even know what I was thinking.
Of course, you can look for local groups there.
Yep. So okay, yeah. Now I'm gonna, cause I mean, I like I said, just I might just to see what it's like, just be, see if maybe I am into it, because maybe I am. I don't know. I've just never tried. I've just, like I said, I've just never. I've heard a little bit about it and never been that interested. So
well, the fun thing about going to parties is, especially if it's group parties, don't ever go to an individual person's party. If there's an individual person in the community, like it will, lowercase community, the city you live, throwing a party, there is a non-zero chance they got kicked out of the overall local community for doing no-nos. So definitely go to a group event party, and you can just walk around and watch people and talk and ask questions, and you will be terrified the first time you go to a party. And it isn't because you're going to see crazy shit. It's because you're worried about seeing crazy shit. And then you'll go and you're like, oh, these are just normal people that like work at Walmart or that work downtown in one of the office buildings, and they're really awesome and cool, and they'll blow your fucking mind. Like, yeah, you always get a few assholes. That's in any group. But overall, the kink community has the largest percentage of awesome people that I've met in any other community.
Yeah, in those groups as well, they'll tend to protect single women and women in general from predatory men. If men act predatory at all, they get kicked out. Like it's surprising.
And many places have mentors programs. I've been part of my local Austin mentors program, and that's where new either dominants or submissives will go through it, and they actually get book learning education as well as one-on-one classes that last 4 hours with various different high-level members of the community that specialize in different things. So, I mean, that's the way to go. Go somewhere where you're going to feel safe and protective and supported by people who want to teach you.
Yeah, I was looking at that and going, I'm not even sure what frog tide is. Is it
okay? So
Kaston will tell us.
Frog tide or hog tide, but both of them basically the same thing, where your wrists and your ankles are all brought together. It just depends on what position it's in. But yeah, it just takes away control. And so that's what's called forced orgasms. And that is a big thing. And it is quite intense.
That's interesting. That is one of those things that you I've seen it in porn.
Yeah.
And I've been like, and yeah, it's just such a, like porn even makes the kink community people go. So, which, you like think kink is extreme and all that, but it's
no. And
I think before, but now, like, the more I hear from you, I'm like,
yeah, like what Michael just said here, that, they're really into tickling. Yeah, that is torture. Tickling is torture. So yes, that is kink. And if you like really go into it and you force them to laugh so hard they pee themselves, that's not only a torture scene, that's a humiliation scene all wrapped into one. So yeah, tickling is kinky. And yeah, there's varying different levels of it. But you can also take tickling to the other end, like using a feather duster or light touches to do that kind of tickly that gives you goosebumps. And that's what's called sensation play. So most of the things you do in the bedroom with a partner is going to be included in kink. You just don't know it.
I was like the tickling thing. I was like it momentarily post-traumatic stress there, because I fucking hate when people tickle me. I fucking hate it. I almost broke a guy's hand once because of that. I was like, stop tickling me. And I'm trying, obviously when you get to tickling and you're like gasping and you're laughing because it's a forced reaction. And I'm like, stop. And they're like, and then I finally get away and I'm like, God damn it. Did you not listen to me? I said, stop. And yeah, so I was, they were like, but you were laughing. I was like, what the fuck do you think tickling is?
That is just like, saying a woman wasn't raped if she has an orgasm, or a male wasn't raped if he had an orgasm. You can't control that shit. You can't control laughing while being tickled, just like you can't control having an orgasm if you're being raped. There's your body, and then there's your brain, and you don't always have 100% control over your body. Like, find me someone who can make their heart stop beating. you can't,
Yeah.
that's not something we have control over, just like so many other systems in our body. Did we lose Lori?
Yeah, her internet's been kind of so. See, I'm not the only one. I mean, I fucking hate tickling. I do not fucking tickle me ever. I will punch you. I swear to God. I will. And that's annoying too. Hey, she's back. Good internet. Apparently, evil. What the fuck did we say? the Cobra Kai got to your internet. That's what we said.
Someone tickled my internet is what happened.
See, everybody hates it. No, I had bad experiences with it as a kid of being, like adults tickling until you do something like pee your pants, and then they yell at you for peeing your pants. It's like, but look what you did this to me, and then so like I to this day fucking hate it. Even David Hasselhoff, thank you, Steven. It was evil David Hasselhoff. So yeah, Katie said my dog bit my ex on the ass once because he was tickling me. I thought I was being attacked. See, your dog was all on your side. Like I need a dog like that.
Because the dog doesn't care that you're laughing. They just smell the stress hormones. And so they completely ignore, the sounds they're hearing. And it's like, oh, your mommy's in danger. Got to protect.
Yeah. Keiko, I think that Lori's internet broke not because not because you were saying that you would was it tickling that you would tickle, or was it that you would frog tire? I don't remember which one it was, but said a 10 of 10 I would do that to Lori, and I think that the internet broke because it got too excited, not because it was terrified or traumatized.
Keiko can definitely time you. I'm not gonna lie. That's just saying.
Mike, no, you should not feel. I don't like. We don't even need cast. I can tell you that if your girlfriend is into tickling, you don't need to feel guilty about being into it.
Oh no,
her unless she wants. If she doesn't like it, don't fucking do it, because there's probably a really good damn reason that she doesn't like it.
If she does like it, use the red light system. And when she says yellow, give her a little pause. If she says red, absolutely stop. Green,
that's I personally hate it, but I know people who love it, and I know people who the guy whose hand I almost broke thought I was into it, and he was into it. So, it's like, because some women are into it. Some it's not for me, but some women like it. So yeah, you shouldn't feel.
Michael said he asked if he should feel guilty for it, and no, if you and your partner are both into it and you're both getting something out of it, fuck what anybody else thinks. You do what makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Katie said, I told my ex to stop tickling me, and he didn't, so it's entirely his fault for the dog biting him.
It is. Absolutely. He deserved it.
He did. Matt said, when somebody calls red, what is the exact protocol or accepted protocol?
It depends on what situation you're in. This is something that you learn while you're in the community. But red means stop. That means the scene is 100% stopping. It will not start again. This isn't a stop the scene, have a discussion, review some things, and start again. Red is it's stopping, and there is zero fucking way it's going to start again. When someone hits red, that is serious. If it's yellow, you stop the scene, you talk, and then you continue if they want to. But red, it's over. And don't get butthurt over it. If you're the top and someone reds you, don't feel like you did anything wrong. Your partner was honest with you and let you know, okay, I can't take anymore. And same thing with the bottom. Don't feel guilty for calling red like you failed somehow. No. That's your limits. And I guarantee you, if you're playing publicly when COVID's over and you call red and other people see that you call red, you're going to have a line of dominance lining up to play with you, because they know that they can trust you. When I play with newbies, I kind of specialize in playing newbies for the first time. Every time I come into contact with them, say, like a spanking or flogging or something like that, every stroke they have to give me a color. Every single stroke they have to say green, 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 and I'll keep ramping it up until we get yellow, and I know that's where they're happy at. And I can play in that area, and that lets me trust them to trust them that I can let go and enjoy and not worry about hurting them, because they will let me know. And if they say red, that's it, floggers down, you know, and you give them the comfort and support they need to get back to a good headspace.
Mike said, she actually directs me to the places she finds most enjoyable when I do it. We have discovered that she adores it when I use an electric toothbrush where the underside of her toes meet the ball of her foot. See?
Oh,
and that's
that is so cool.
That out. I would not have thought to bring an electric toothbrush into the bedroom, but now that I'm
thinking
about it critically, I'm like, yeah, it's only fucking perfect for that. See, I haven't been adventurous in quite some time. We talked about that earlier off, like we were in our group chat with preparing for the episode, but I have medical issues that causes that. So for everybody wanting to know what the hell I'm talking about, I have medical issues that is causing a low libido in me at this time, and hopefully I can work that out soon. But
one of the things
like this is the thing.
Masturbating and having orgasms will actually help that, and reading lots of porn actually helps that too. Or listening, if you're like me and so fucking busy you can't sit down and read a book, put on some headphones with what you got and go listen to some Brides of the Kindred.
That's fair, and I should read more porn. I actually, when Katie mentioned Elfie, I was like, fuck, it's been I keep forgetting Elfie, and I love her, and I need to go catch up on her. So, and what is the it's Buttsmithy, right, Katie? It's buttsmithy.com is the website. It's a fabulous website. So yeah, go there and read Alfie, everybody. Mike said the toothbrush was one of the only other good things learned from porn. Fair. Yeah, porn is not without its merits. It's just most of it is garbage.
Yes. And for those that don't know, for those that own a clitoris, the detachable shower head on pulsate. Oh my God, I discovered that in the 4th grade. Never stopped.
Yeah. Look at us all nodding like all the ladies know. Because that's I don't know, it's better than anything else. Like better than hands when when you're just figuring that shit out as a kid. Way better than hands. Definitely. Electric toothbrush. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, that's another one of those things is like once you say it, I'm like, shit, why didn't I think of that?
Well, before they had shit like that, women would sit on washing machines during the spin cycle.
Mm-hmm. I do know that. That's another one of those jokes on the movies and shit, right?
Yep.
Matt's asking sex positive TV shows and media. What are they? Do we have some? Sure, we have some. We must have some.
Yeah, but I should have made a list beforehand. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Big Mouth. Big Mouth is amazing. I love it. And if you have a teenage child, if they're at least 12 years old, make them watch Big Mouth. It is funny, it is animated, and it has factual information about human sexuality and what puberty is and difference between boys and girls going through it. And it's great. Like, I fucking love it. And seeing that representation for young people, because it's not written specifically for young people, but I made my niece watch it, like when she was, 13, 14 years old. It is great. If you haven't watched Big Mouth, it's great. It's meant for adults, but like I said, teens can watch it too. What would be another good sex positive that isn't, porn based? Can y'all think of any?
I'm trying to think. Yeah.
I don't know why, but Schitt's Creek is coming to my head, and it's not because it's sex positive. It doesn't really touch that much on sex, but it does have that beautiful all the relationships. I mean, David is just I love David.
A little bit older ones, the L Word, which is kind of an extension of Queer as Folk. Both of those are really good sex positive. They do focus more on the gay communities, but there's really not that big of a difference between gay sex and straight sex, except for the bits and balls. But healthy sexuality is healthy sexuality.
Right.
Well, the gay thing is like it pisses certain sectors of the public in this country off.
It prefers a certain color.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not included my bangs. I don't know if you noticed my bangs start with pink and not with red. There's a very specific reason for that.
Sex Education on Netflix. I have not seen that one
yet.
Yes, that is so great. Good. I forgot about that because COVID, it delayed the next season of it. But Sex Education, it's what's that lady from X-Files? What's her name?
Jillian?
Jillian Anderson.
Jillian Anderson plays a sex therapist that's a single mom who has a son that's in 9th grade, and he is so embarrassed of her. But because he knows all this information, he's the one teaching all of his friends. If you want to know who Baby Kaston was in junior high and high school, watch that show because I was her son. I was the one educating everybody. But it's great, and you can't really tell what time period it's based in. Everybody's wearing 80s clothes, but it's obviously not the 80s because cell phones. I don't know, but it's really great, and I think there's 2 seasons out, and I think a 3rd is on the way. But it is an amazing show, and I do go watch it. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix or Hulu.
Okay. Yeah. Dead Tom 70. I love that name. That's a good one. I don't know why. It's 2 very common words stuck together, but yeah, I have
ready for us to call it. So
no, I have a cat. There's a cat right here that you can't see because he's black, and he's distracting me.
Okay.
She's seeing things.
No, I swear.
Lori needs met. Well, I knew Laguna was there, and I tell you why. It wasn't because I saw you doing anything. It's because I heard him beep.
Yeah,
he's a beeper.
He's a beeper. Yeah. I have a fucking 1,000 cats, and not one of them is anywhere near here either. They never are.
2 out of 3 in my lap multiple times. They just kind of switch positions and take their turns in my lap. You might have seen a tail every now and then.
Yeah, your camera doesn't want to stay focused because of the cats that are, I guess they're coming in there and jiggling, and the camera tries to focus on the tail.
Yes.
So, I wanted to say the one show that popped into my mind immediately that I immediately knew is in fact like the opposite of a good sex positive show is Sex and the City. That fucking show, man. Like I fucking loved it when I was a teenager, and now I look back, like I've rewatched it as an adult, as a 30-something here, and I'm going, what the
incoming comment from Matt Frank, because him and his wife just finished rewatching it, and so you're about to see something from him pop up.
Oh my god, I have so many problems, and I mean, not even just like I have so many problems with it about the sex stuff, but I have so many problems with it in general. Like, how did they fuck off so much and buy all those $600 pairs of shoes? And she works 1 fucking day a week? Get the fuck out of here. No, she doesn't.
Same issue with Friends. Like, you don't want to watch somebody that's in the middle class in a crappy little roach, infested apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And they never work. None of them ever fucking work. Like, what do we see? A grand total of like 10 episodes where any of them are at a job? Oh, okay, here it is. Matt said, I recently watched the entire thing, and there's some well-meaning boomerism on display. And that is exactly what I was thinking too. Boomers. I love the characters, but it's definitely dated. I'll defend it, but only to a point. Yes, same. And I am sitting here going, I know they're like remaking it, a Sex and the City. They're rebooting it with just Sarah Jessica Parker and the chick who played Miranda and the chick who played Charlotte. I can't remember their names. Cynthia Nixon and anyway, the point is, and the City without Sam Jones is probably going to be bullshit. So let's just stop right there. But how are they going to make it not a boomer show? Because it was such a boomer show.
Well,
it is.
If you want to be fair, Sex and the City was just like 50 Shades is now. Like, it might be incorrect, but it was edgy, and it made it okay to talk about the subject. So even though they got a lot of shit wrong, just like 50 Shades, it did open up conversations to it. And I hope that when they do the reboot, it will be more modern, it will be more inclusive, and have factual, evidence-based information in the show.
Matt said, hard pass, Sex and the City should have a hard reboot. Agreed, and Kristen Stewart should be in it.
Oh, I love her.
I used to like I jumped on the Twilight hate bandwagon for a long time with her, and then I saw her in the movie Speak. Have you seen Speak?
Nope.
Which it's actually about a girl, a high schooler that was raped in a custodian closet. And then she, like, the whole thing is about her struggle with coming to terms with it and accepting and telling, telling someone about it. I believe, am I getting that right? I hope I'm getting that right. But like, she was surprisingly good in that, and she was quite young when she did it. So yeah, I was like, I don't know why everybody shits on Kristen Stewart. The Twilight movies sucked because they had bad direction, not because they had bad actors, because they had
very
good
bad direction. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like all those movies was all about, because like you've seen Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, like they've all done good acting. The entire Cullen family, I've seen them all do good acting. They just bad direction, and that movie was shot like a fucking God damn it, I can't. Panic at the Disco. That's what I was like. It's a Panic at the Disco video.
Panic at the Taco Bell. Disco. Okay.
And that was like side bend. Well, we have to start like winding down here, because we are already like, we try and shoot for an hour and a half here, and we are already 12 minutes over that. So I am having a hell of a time though, and I'm cool with going over as long as you guys have the time. So
well, typically like we start to wind down when the viewers start to decrease, but the viewers haven't decreased. So
yeah, and I'm and like when the viewers start to stop engaging in the comments as well. Katie said, didn't all the actors hate doing Twilight? I believe so, yes.
Oh, that must have been cringy for them. Oh, another show that had good positive images on sex that's a little bit older, Star Trek TNG.
What? Really?
For its time. It was very sex positive. I mean, look at Riker, the little slut, said in a good way. He would screw anything that would have him in him, like, and okay with that. And they had that episode where he went to this androgynous planet, and one of the androgynous people there, he was attracted to them. He's been attracted to just about everybody except a man. I don't think he's ever been attracted to a man. But with Counselor Troy and stuff, they've had really positive relationships with sex and sexuality, and don't force this idea of you have to be married and there's anything wrong with, having a sex drive and fulfilling that and scratching that itch.
That's I've never been into Star Trek, so I might have to jump into it. I just wasn't like, as a kid, I wasn't into any nerdy shit, like the stuff that we think of as nerdy now, because like any of the alternative, if it wasn't Walker Texas Ranger or WWE wrestling, we weren't watching it.
Can I tell you a story about him?
I would love to hear a story about Chuck Norris.
Okay, so I grew up in a little town called Navasota, Texas. Within Navasota, Texas, on the outskirt, was Chuck Norris's ranch called Lone Star Ranch. When I was in high school, I worked at McDonald's. I worked the drive-thru. Good morning, welcome to Navasota McDonald's. May I take your order, please? And he came through once and got, standard food, whatever. Pulled up to my window and he's like, "Hey, do you know who I am?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're Chuck Norris." He's like, "Can I get my food for free?" I looked at him and I said, "You make more money than the entire income of this town combined, and you want free, cheap, crappy food? Fuck you. Give me the $3.99 and please pull up to the next window."
Wow.
I wonder, like, was he like trying to make a joke?
No.
Was he serious? Like, it's like, oh my God, the audacity of that guy. And that was like back then, before we knew, like before we were like completely publicly aware of what a piece of shit he is. Like I was telling Lori last night, I watched the movie Sidekicks that had him and Jonathan Brandis in it, and Mako, who is precious gem. Oh, right. I know he was gone too soon. But anyway, I was like, I have as an adult now, knowing who Chuck Norris is, and especially like I'm gonna even have more trouble watching it if I ever watch it again, because like I feel like we have to do it as the discount Karate Kid when we're finished with the original Karate Kid movies. So I remember loving that movie as a kid and being, like, oh, Chuck Norris is amazing, right? When we were kids, Chuck Norris is fucking awesome. And now I struggle to enjoy it as an adult because it is kind of a fun movie. but like, I know what a piece of shit Chuck Norris is. Like, I hate Chuck Norris. I hate everything that Chuck Norris stands for today. And it just makes me sad because despite the fact that I wanted to watch things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer when I was a kid, I did enjoy watching Walker, Texas Ranger with my family. And that was just like nobody else was into it. So I got outvoted. So I never got to watch that shit.
No. Back then.
Yeah, no. And we had to watch commercials. And sometimes, like, I remember having to go to the TV because the remote didn't exist. We were the remote. And I remember that you had to conveniently step out of the living room in order to not be the remote. Otherwise, he was gonna call my sister or me because patriarchy.
Yes.
So, anyway, Mike said the episode with the androgynous aliens kind of ends on a sour note as the one who falls for Riker and wants to be female gets lobotomized in conversion therapy.
Yep, that was. I mean, that episode was great up until then, but it was perfect for the time because it was a reflection on what was happening to gay people that grew up in Christianity, and it spoke directly to that and how sad it was. And that episode really needed to end that way as much as we didn't want it to, because it sent that message of you took this being that was perfect and amazing as they were born and changed them to fit into what you think was right. And you've destroyed that unique individual.
I just thought of another one, but I'm a cheerleader. The movie. Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Okay, it has its problems, but it's such a funny. It's just such a like, what the fuck? And you should watch it. Okay, I have a situation. I'll be right back.
Okay.
With the cat knocked over.
Hopefully everything is okay. Yeah. So like Matt's saying here, there's unfortunately a lot of fun movies and TV shows with deeply problematic actors and influences. Yeah. It's you know, we try to not support people like that, but like there's just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example. Joss Whedon is a piece of shit, but everyone who worked on the show is a nice person. And, you know, by watching that, you're supporting them. And by buying the merch, you're still supporting those actors and stuff who are getting royalties. So I'm kind of torn about that. Like, I feel like we should support the people who worked on the show, and you fuck Joss Whedon if he's an asshole, whatever. But, you know, like...
Yeah, because if you punish Joss Whedon by not getting in the merch of the thing you love, you're also punishing everybody else that was involved on that. And he won't know. He won't know it's because of him.
Yeah. Here.
Oh, yeah, with what Winter just said about how, you're in the middle now. We switch positions. Welcome to the bitch seat.
I brought my pussy.
I see that, which is why you're in the bitch seat, because that's how it works. The woman goes in the middle.
I don't know. Did you guys hear that situation?
No.
No. Two of the cats started fighting. And it was normally they just have their little tiffs, but this one was a bad one, so I had to go break it up.
I get that. I was in the middle of a therapy session with someone 3 weeks ago. And my cat started going at it. And it's a rare thing. And it only ever happens if they see or smell another cat that's outside. And I'm like, they're gonna kill each other, literal fur flying. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. My cats are trying to kill each other. Please excuse me for a moment. Muted the mic, took care of it, and came back with covered in cat hair because it was just flying everywhere. But luckily they just thought it was funny.
Yeah. I had that happen, like almost exactly the same situation. Only I wasn't doing therapy. I was doing catalog sales for Swiss Colony or some shit. Like where they call, make an order, and you have to place the order for them. Yeah, that shit. And it was like this horrible racket, and I was like, I am so sorry. I'll be. Like, I am so sorry. I think that might have been the first time in my life that I actually said so sorry. Oh,
Winter asked a good question, Sarah, that you asked in the beginning. And
yes,
I don't know if we have time to go into it. Laura, you have to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down on how religion in general fucks people, from a sexuality perspective, because Winter brought it up.
Oh my God. I feel like that one needs its own episode. That's another topic that needs its own episode. Yeah.
Yes, we could do an entire episode on that, and I would love that. And
I hear you, Winter.
I don't know how many viewers we have, or if it's, good enough to warrant doing another episode. But if so, then we could just do that, religion and human sexuality, as an episode, and we can do that for the next one.
I'm absolutely down for it. I've got all the stories for you. And Winter apparently can chip in the Baptist stuff, because I got the Catholic stuff right here.
I got the Pentecostal stuff, if you know what that is.
Oh, I know enough. I know enough to know. I know enough. I don't know it all, but I know enough. So yeah.
Eric could actually join in as well, because he was raised Mormon.
LDS,
so that's kind of another perspective.
Yeah. Oh, and it's all just, that's why, like, it's religion is the root of the shame that we all feel. I just like, I'm not saying faith is a bad thing for anybody. And this is an argument I have had with my family a gajillion times. It's like, nobody's saying you can't believe in stuff and be faithful, but it's when you organize that shit. That's when the problems start.
Yes, there's a huge difference between spirituality and religion.
It's and religion. Yeah, I mean, like the whole world is super fucked up because of Christianity. Like the Roman Catholic Church that went through and just ruined the entire mission.
Don't get me started with the big scientists, because my other big love is astrophysics. So I'm a huge nerd in many different spheres. But what they did to people that said that, the Earth wasn't at the center of the solar system, shit, like just holding back science in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was like gonna spin off into a whole nother thing, but that's off the topic again. So.
I see what you did there, spinoff.
Oh shit. So well, we're at 1 hour and 53 minutes. I don't know, like, I mean, we're still kind of holding on to the viewers, like the numbers staying strong there, so we still got plenty of people. Like, if you guys still have some questions, drop them in the comments.
Yes,
because I think that we're like, I'm okay to go a bit longer, to go a bit over 2 hours. I assume that you guys are both good to do that too, because this is a very informative and again, important conversation to have that doesn't happen enough, which is why we were considering maybe making it a regular thing.
Yeah, I think we should
happen more.
And we can have other people on, get other, it'd be nice to throw a guy into the mix so we can ask them questions on, hey, as women, this is our perspective. What was yours growing up in XYZ society?
Hey, Matt, are you busy? He's the one that's throwing all the questions into the comment. Him and Mike are all the questions. Katie said, I learned today that the Inquisition used to shave women and thought the clit was the sign that they were lovers of the devil. Really? I didn't. I know a lot of shit about the Inquisition, but that one's a new one to me. And then accuse them, and when they were accusing them of being witches. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like that's the bullshit about if you float, then you're a witch, and if you sink and drown, then you're not.
Fun fact that most people might not know: the clitoris is the only organ in either the male or female body that's only purpose is for pleasure. Like, that is it. There's no other reason for it. And the only reason the male penis has any sensation at all is because in utero, you were a female. Our clitoris, when it was exposed to testosterone, turned into a penis. Our clitoral hood is your foreskin. Our labia is what sealed together to make your testicles. That's why you have that little seam between them, is because the labia sealed itself together. So everybody started as a woman because that is the default sex. And it was only because of testosterone that we have males. But y'all's is multifunctional. And no, before you ask, and don't feel bad for thinking this way, because I was the same until college, women don't pee through their clitoris at all. We have a urethra just like you do. It's just when y'all get the testosterone, the clitoris and the urethra just kind of come together into one thing. But no, I thought up until my freshman year in high school, until the first true sex ed class I had, that women peed out of their clitoris. And the professor said otherwise. I was like, what? I went home that night and I did the whole fried green tomatoes thing where I got a fucking mirror, set it between my legs, and opened shit up and like, holy shit, there is a little hole there. I had no idea. So even though I'm a sexpert now, that doesn't mean I was always one.
You had to start somewhere. I mean, how many guys have you met that think that there's only 2 holes down there for women?
Exactly.
There's a lot. It's a shocking and kind of embarrassing amount of men that I have met in my life that don't know that. Like, just why do you need to buy tampons? Why can't tampons be taxed? Why can't you just hold it in until you go to the bathroom? Because that's not what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
You think the baby comes out the pee hole? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh my God.
I mean, they have it all in one. To be fair, you know,
yes, and I understand
for urination and ejaculation. And the fact that there's anything different, because the male is the norm and the standard, even though technically from a evolutionary perspective that they're, you know, an afterthought, they think that we have to be the same as them. But also give them a little bit of leeway because they had the bad sex ed too. They weren't taught this shit. And it's not like they go into that in porn, unless you're into really kinky shit, like, you know, what's the squirting, or what's called, oh God, it just fell out of my brain. Basically into, you know, urination stuff. They're not going to have close-ups and you can see the urine coming out, or the female ejaculation coming out of the urethra, and you won't even notice it's there otherwise. Water sports, that's the
water
word.
Sports, yeah.
Water sports, thank you. It just like fell out of my brain. But you know, they don't know, and since a lot of guys are kind of on oral for women, or even if they do, the lights are turned down and it's darker, and it's not okay just to sit there and stare at it, which I think is sexy. You know, you get someone to go between your legs and just stares at you and just wants to learn the curves of your body. That's fucking sexy as fuck. Like, you have to get to a certain level of confidence in yourself and your partner before you can do that without feeling weird, because sexuality is so repressed in our society. It's something to be done in the dark, quietly, and the man has to have an orgasm, and it's just, you know, lucky for you if the woman along the way has one as well.
I think that with the whole men not knowing that there's 3 holes on women down there, it's less about the fact, like, I totally give them the pass for having the shitty sex ed like we did, because we all had it in this country, but the confidence with which they declare that there's only 2 holes down there just blows my mind. Like, you were so confident in your wrongness there, bro. That's why we're making fun of you. That's why.
Well, add to that the societal setup of males have to be aggressive and stand up for what they believe in, and that they're allowed to do that. If they back down and say that they're wrong, that somehow emasculates them. So you just have all of these societal issues piling up onto a problem as simple and easy to figure out as how many holes does a woman have between her legs? And you get all of that shit piling up into a perfect storm of an issue that shouldn't be an issue.
It's shit. There it went again. My train of thought derailed. I had such a good point too. It was just mentioning, just to point out that that's just one of those many ways that toxic masculinity and the patriarchal society that we live in, the structure of this world, is not only harming women and non-binary people, but also it's harming men.
Yes, it is.
It sucks. It fucking sucks for everybody. Yeah. Been peed on by other girls. So I've seen like the point of view of it happening. Yeah. So, well, I should hope that you knew that there was well, 3
holes. They did before, they did afterwards. Oh, and a side thing, kind of on that note, female ejaculation, that's another thing that's talked about, likely even less than anal sex. One, you see it really often in porn. Yes, most women can, but in order to get to that, they have to be really sexually confident and not have any shame at all around sexuality, or have to be excruciatingly sensitive and it's not pee. Like what comes out is not urine. But just like with a male, when he has pre-cum, yes, there'll be a little bit of urine mixed in, but for them, it's to wash away the urine to make sure it doesn't kill any of the semen. But for us, it's just a little bit left in the urethra. So the beginning of, squirting, that yes, there'll be a little bit of pee in there, but just a tiny bit. But it's just, like seminal fluid without any semen in it at all. It's just a salty water. And somebody once described it as smelling like hay, I want to say was what they said. And it's a natural thing that happens if you want to try to make it happen. Typically, a penis and a vagina alone won't do it. The best way to do it is fingers curved up, hitting. Let me get the camera over here. There we go. And fingers curved up, hitting the G spot while there's also clitoral stimulation. Bonus, add pressure right above the pubic bone, because basically you're smushing the inside of the clit between your fingers that are in the vaginal canal and pushing the stomach down, because sadly it's already packed because I'm moving, but I have a 3D printed model of a clitoris. The clitoris that you see outside your body is only like the tip of your pinky. But if you look at it in its entirety, it's huge. It's a giant multi-threaded being that looks like an alien with just a little tip sticking out. The G spot is just stimulating the clitoris internally, and it wraps around the vagina. And so there's no such thing as a clitoral orgasm and a vaginal orgasm. That's all bullshit that fucking Freud came up with. And because all of it's clitoral orgasm, the vagina doesn't have that many nerves. Most of the nerves are like in the first inch and a half of the entrance of the vagina. But if you want to really stimulate that and like push all of it right in between each other, and that's how you can get a woman to squirt. But she has to be really excited, really turned on. And if it doesn't happen, it's not a failure. Like, just keep trying.
Good information. That's definitely not something that we learned in sex ed for sure. I don't think we did anything. I didn't think we heard about anal either, except I did in the Catholic school stuff. Was like, you're going to hell. You're definitely going to hell. Even think about it.
Most of the time, anal is talked about with AIDS because it's mostly a gay male thing in perceived society anyway. But that, anal sex is bad because gay people do it, and you're going to get AIDS and die, and that's how God punishes you.
Yeah, I hate to think that the kind of God that they think is so benevolent and kind would actually do something like that to a person that does one thing that he doesn't like, but isn't hurting him.
Right. I think ironically with some religions, because, the women are, they're supposed to remain virginal. Anal sex it's not encouraged, but teens will often have anal sex and not vaginal sex. Because then they're still virgins.
I was too dumb to have sex and not get pregnant in high school, and there was zero way I could get birth control. So the first sex I had that wasn't oral, which was something penetrating me, was anal sex. That is how I started. I did that for several years before I had vaginal sex, because I didn't want to get pregnant. My mom was a teen mom, which is why I have an awesome name. It's a combination of her name, Kathy, K-A, and she grew up in Houston, S-T-O-N. So teen moms, you get great names, but it can ruin the rest of your life if you don't have family support or the ability to, end the pregnancy if you don't want it. And I didn't want that. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to break the poverty cycle. I wanted to do stuff to help my family. And so for me, getting pregnant was the absolute worst outcome. But I still had those hormones. I still wanted to have orgasms. I still wanted to enjoy time with partners. And hell, teenage sex is amazing. Like, until you get into your like late 30s, early 40s, the best sex you're going to have is going to be when you're a late teen, because you don't have all the shame that ends up piling up, because you don't have your frontal cortex completely formed, and so you don't think about all the ramifications of going to hell and shit like that. So there's the potential there to have some great sexual experiences, but you need to do it safe. And sadly, not everybody had, you know, the self-education I did to learn about that and prevent that from happening to them. But nothing wrong with anal. And yes, a lot of people get their start that way, especially religious ladies.
That's fair. I didn't know anything about that stuff when I was a kid. I just didn't. I was so unpopular that I didn't even hang out with like the unpopular kids. So, and that's how you learn that shit is from talking to your friends. And I didn't have any of those. So I think that's why I was such a dummy until I was quite almost out of my teen years. Yeah. So I didn't know about any of that shit. Keiko said I can say, since this is isn't my regular profile and I don't want like everyone knowing, and I think Lori does.
Yes.
No, I'm glad to have someone interacting with us, you know, about this, like openly about stuff.
Yeah, and it's just another one of those things. Like if you get one person sees you being super open about it, then maybe they'll start being more open about it, and then the domino shit. So okay, we are like 2 hours and 7 minutes, so we're like way and I'm at this point where I was like, I think people probably want to go to bed, but they're just having too good of a time to say anything.
Well, I need to use my third hole and pee really badly, so I'm completely okay with calling it here and doing another one later.
Excellent. So I have one thing that I'd like. Could you recap the information on where to find the safe sex people online? Like what's that website that you said for the kink scene?
FetLife.org. So it's short for fetish lifestyle. So FetLife.org.
And
you can find me on there. I'm very lucky that I can use my real name because unlike so many people, I won't lose anything in my life if people know that I am kinky. So hit me up on there and I can point you in the right direction for groups and whatnot.
Yeah, if there's one thing I would pray for, it's for the day that we don't have to say things like I won't lose anything by being open about my kinkiness. And then we had the don't talk to strangers stuff when if you're trying to find yourself the new partner for a fling or whatever, for anything. If you're trying to even just buy a plant off a Facebook Marketplace, always meet in a super public busy place and always let multiple people, at least let 2 people know where you are and to, you know, call if you don't answer, if you don't respond to their texts in such a minutes, you know, like I said, if I'm going to buy a plant, I will text at least 2 people and say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. This is the person's name. This is where I'm going to be. If I don't text you in 10 or 15 minutes, then text me back. And if I don't respond to you, call the cops and give them all this information. Yeah. And that's how you should approach any meeting with a stranger, really. I mean, you just should always.
So you're a crazy cat lady and a crazy plant lady?
Yeah, I guess. And a crazy cat lady, a crazy plant lady, kind of a crazy fish lady. Like I have fish tanks and stuff. Crazy crafting. Just crazy everything. Like I said, ADHD, I have all the interests. So we did, we said, where can we find that safe kink stuff? Where don't talk to strangers. Always check to make sure they actually have the candy before you get in the van.
Or the puppy dog or whatever it is.
Exactly. That'll be how I go, is like somebody says I have kittens in a basket in my back of my van. That's going to be where I'm going to go. And last but not least, before we get off the interwebs here, where can we find you?
Well, like I said, you can find me on FetLife. Just look for my name, Kaston. Same thing on Facebook. Feel free to add me there. And there's a lot of, like, if you're interested in a lot of this stuff or kinky yourself, but not out and want to learn more, there's lots of Facebook groups that I'm in. So add me as a friend and send me a message and let me know, hey, I'm kind of interested in learning some kinky stuff. Can you send me some invites? Because because so many people can lose stuff, most of these groups are invite only. And so you can't just search for them. There's lots of the datings, kinky dating and stuff like that you can search and find, but the community kinky groups are closed. So you know that it won't get leaked, or somebody looking at your profile won't see that you're a member of a kinky group on there. But just do a search for Kaston and look for the gal with the purple hair. I'm not going to try to tell you how to spell my last name, Kolbachinski, because it's pretty long. It's 12 letters and it's Polish. But there's very few Kastons.
So, okay, that's thank you for being so open to everybody that's watching here too, because you know, not every guest would do that and just be like, yeah, just add me on Facebook. Yeah, no, I don't even want to do that. You can add my business page, but don't just add me. You need to send me a message and tell me why you want to be my friend first.
Oh yeah, so, obviously include that. Let me know who the hell you are. If you don't have any friends in common, yeah, you're not going to get approved.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you, Kaston. Thank you, everybody who stuck around for the whole thing and asked a bunch of questions and engaged, because that made it a really good show. Next week, what are we doing next week? We need to tell what we're doing next week, and I forgot.
Or is it who you're doing next week?
Both. Next week, I actually
thing in the behind the scenes footage.
Exactly.
Oh, that could be a problem. Actually, next week. So I just went and checked our schedule here, and I think that next week we have a weird thing. I think we're probably going to end up doing critical affection. So we'll either do, if Lori can do, we'll do another Karate Kid. But if Julie's going to be on that week, we will do the Never Ending Story, I think. So I guess stay tuned to be surprised for which movie we're going to talk about. We're going to affectionately criticize. Well, then maybe we can get you in the comments next week to talk to us about nitpicking.
Yes,
yeah, so we're always like, yeah, we like to talk about a movie and we love the movies, but we have to acknowledge all the problems with the movie. That's basically what we do. So yeah, I guess we'll have to figure that out, Lori, and we'll have to grab Julie and be like, what the fuck are we doing next week? Because for the first time since I started this and made it official, I don't know what we're doing next week. Like, I mean, we have a general idea, but so yeah, that's it. We're good. So everybody, thank you for joining us. Stay safe. Have a wonderful evening. And we'll see.
Thank you for asking questions. I really, really appreciate it. And please come back if in the future.
Yes, please come back. Please come back anyway. Like, we'll do the sex episodes too, but come back and watch the other shit because we're pretty fun. So have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next week at same time, same place. And have a wonderful night. I'm terrible at ending shit. But okay, bye.